Hey everybody, I'm Paul.
And I'm Andrew.
And welcome back to the Fan Voice. Here tonight with us is my good friend Eric Sanchez.
Hello.
Yeah, there's Eric. And tonight we're going to talk about Avengers Age of Ultron, which just recently was released and so much hype everywhere. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is one of the big summer movies for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of people were really excited about it. Obviously, had a huge opening weekend, and it continues to be huge, obviously, and it will be for the next 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be crazy, and I'm sure the international releases went really well too. I heard that they were almost just as big, so that was
almost just as big. Oh,
Yeah.
like the other releases.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Give it a couple more days, and this will be the new highest grossing movie ever. Because
that always happens.
now there's a trend where every new blockbuster is the highest grossing movie ever.
Every single. That's what Fast and the Furious was. Yeah.
Yeah. It was every big movie that comes out is the biggest movie to ever come out.
Yeah.
Because of so more people are going to movies to see it. Box office.
Oh, that and there's the 3D ticket sales, which is just stupid. Jack up the prices to higher. Bring up the gross price. I'm looking at the box office right now. Domestic total is 227 million at the moment, and then foreign is 459 million.
Wow. Yeah.
So pretty much they are at 5, 6, 7, about close to 800 million worldwide. Yeah. Oh wait, no, I'm way off.
Wow.
Which gives me 686 million worldwide.
Yeah,
which is insane.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Can't
say
usually
I'm
happens.
surprised, but
Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about just the movie in general, what we thought about it, and that's what we're going to start off with. And then we're going to kind of talk about Marvel movies in general and kind of our issues with it, and especially with the topic of are they too safe, which we'll get into a little bit later. That'll probably you guys will kind of get hints of that probably during our discussions.
just hear us out. Don't click
movie.
off just yet.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, please. That's my biggest worry being part of this is I'm afraid people are gonna hate me for what I say.
Yeah, no, and trust me, I'm worried about that a lot too.
Well, Eric, the one thing you have to remember is here at the Fan Voice, we're here to talk about what we really believe, no matter how that sways to the masses.
Right.
Good point. Yep.
I do feel like this, along with that, whether the Marvel movie thing is safe. I think we're probably going to delve a little bit into the current blockbuster model of today. Not only
definitely.
the Marvel movies, you also got the DC movies, which has their own creativity and hype, but how is it compared to Marvel? And also you got Star Wars this year, which is I can't even think of how that's gonna be box office wise, and
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be enormous. All right, so let's just start off by talking about it. Paul, do you want to talk?
Okay, I'll just throw out a brief impression of the movie.
Okay.
It was really fun, exciting, and I think the two biggest elements that they hit strongest, they hit even stronger than ever, is just their action sequences as well as their dialogue humor, the writing. I think they're always total geniuses when it comes to subtle social humors and stuff. That's just my opinion personally. Then probably what excited me most about this film is that I think this is one of the biggest pillars of creating a foundation for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've seen it kind of coming together through the past films. Originally it was just, these are just films for the individual heroes.
Right.
And then this is just one movie with the heroes coming together. It's no, now there are little hintings and chains. and this brought that on bigger than ever. You know, it's like there are things you need to know about, like what's been going on previously, and now it's like, okay, you got to start following some stuff, and it's like it could be bad, it could be good, but I think the process is really interesting.
Yeah, like I think this is the beginning, not the beginning, but this is definitely the kind of the turning point for the MCU as far as really becoming a universe in and of itself. Because I felt like the first Avengers was kind of the beginning of that. Everything's tying together. There's there's
it was
references.
Like, it was
they're
like
all together in one movie.
Yeah,
it's kind of the beginning of that MCU.
It was
process.
the start of the ties,
right?
But majority was like just like, oh, they're all together,
like,
kind of.
Yeah, like Captain America 2 obviously has elements of that as well, and they're bringing in Black Widow and major other characters as well.
Right.
And I think this one is like I said, it's not the first one, but it's kind of the major one as far as like now we see that if you hadn't seen previous movies, you would have been missing a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's what the trend is going to be, in my opinion, at least, is I didn't see Captain America 2. I've been spoiled to hell and back on Captain America. I know exactly what happens. I just haven't seen it, right? But if I hadn't seen it and I didn't know what was happening, the beginning of Avengers 2 would have been really fucking weird.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, oh, wait, what's happening? Oh, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s gone? Oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
and that's weird. Like, if you think about it, like, that doesn't usually happen in movies. Like, even sequels, studios are like, well, people have to be able to see just this movie.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
really, it was like Lord of the Rings that was one of the first that was like, dude, there's 6 hours of content you missed.
That's true.
You can't be jumping into Return of the King. And now it's gotten to the point where, hey, there's 25 hours of content you missed. You can't be, you know what I mean?
It's the size of the beast compared to other, franchises. I mean, you have past franchises like Back to the Future 2 and 3. You have to watch 2 to kind of get most of what is going on in 3 a little bit. And similar things with Alien to Aliens.
Right.
You kind of want to know what happened in the first one to get to, but it's not to this extent that you really need to see the previous one. Because the movie itself. Because I watched Terminator 2 first. I had no real context to Terminator 1, but it's still a just incredible movie on its own.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have to watch the first one. And with the Marvel mold, as it is interesting because it's much like comic books. You can read the big event stories, and you feel like you're missing bits of the story because you didn't read the other issues of the other individual characters. But you still get a good enough cohesive story that you get it because they give you enough information throughout. And even then, it incentivizes you to try to go for the other issues, and in this case, the other movies. But it feels more daunting a task to watch something like you said, because 25 hours of content, because they did that 29-hour movie marathon.
Yeah.
And they're just becoming more and more necessary, It's like slowly these, like, oh, here's a superhero movie, and like every movie is slowly becoming more and more of the Infinity Stone story. Kind of thing,
Yeah. Eventually that'll be the main. I mean, it already is the main thread, but I mean that's going to be the storyline when it all comes together. So I mean that's pretty incredible to me because it's very much like you were saying, Eric. It was very much like a comic book style, except with movies, where it's like except the separate issues are the individual movies, the Thor and the Captain America movies and stuff. That's crazy to think about. It's a cool concept. It's just there's a lot.
Going
on.
It's trying.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. You gotta be there at the movies every summer.
Yeah,
and otherwise too, because they're not just coming out in summer anymore.
Right.
They're all over the place.
Continue with what you were saying, though.
Well, that was
first impressions.
Yeah, first impressions. Well, I guess that's just what excited me the most. That huge topic of like turning these films into a comic book storyline kind of thing was my favorite part. But again, just the humor and action was super entertaining, you know.
Yeah.
there were some things here and there, and kind of well, some other things that I think we should save for later in the discussion. But
okay.
Eric, what are your first impressions of the movie?
First impressions, mostly agreed with you. I do think it is a very fun movie. It is fun to watch. It is it is still cool to see all of your favorite heroes fight together and interact with each other and kind of grow together as a group into their own and their stories. I don't completely agree with you with the how great the dialogue and the character, I mean the actual dialogue itself is. It's funny, but I feel like it drops the ball a lot more than it, keeps it going.
Okay.
And then the action sequences are also a bit hit or miss for me, but ultimately still a fun movie. It's something I would watch again. I could it satisfyingly ties up any loose ends from the last few stories for me.
Right.
But yeah, and I can also say that for me it does not, but it ties up the loose ends from the last ones, but it doesn't get me excited for the next ones.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. I felt like it's not like there was anything really missing from the end, but I'm kind of like, okay, so the Avengers are kind of reborn. They have new members, basically, and the old members are going to come back at some point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, they have to, right?
But especially after the announcement of the cast for Civil War, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's all of them. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like at the end I was like, okay, so I know Infinity War is happening because it has to, and I've heard about it. But it's just weird that, like, I was just kind of like, okay, I don't know what's next. I was more excited. I was not more excited for the Avengers movie, actually. I was more excited seeing all these new heroes. I was more excited to just see Civil War, because then I would feel like seeing all of them fight would be kind of cool.
Oh yeah, against each other.
Right, but even then, I'm like, I don't know what they're going to be warring about, and I don't know if I really
That's true.
care that much. Yeah, that's the thing.
I don't know too much about Civil War, but isn't like a big topic about like just citizens being kind of like sick of superheroes? Like,
in essence, yes.
Yeah.
Think of it like this: there's a couple famous stories that you've probably heard of. Like The Watchmen has a similar thing, and then a more familiar to a lot more people is The Incredibles. They both have this thing where people are sick of letting heroes just do whatever they want, and they want them to. I mean, in Watchmen, they want them to work with the government specifically, or hang up their masks, pretty much. In Incredibles, they just want them to be gone completely. Civil War, it's similar to that, where after a big incident, they want all heroes to give up their identities to the government so that they can be government agents, so that they can be held more accountable, so that they can be told where to go and not just go at every single thing, because they don't know what's going to happen with that, which turns into a big disagreement with half the heroes and the other half, where they don't agree with giving up their identities, and the other ones wanted to go back to just kind of they want to keep that to them because of past instances with it. So it's a big story, and I enjoy it quite a bit, and I am worried how they're going to adapt it. But I'm curious how they are.
It's weird because I was assuming that the next Avengers kind of storyline would be the Civil War, and it turns out that it's one movie. And
that's part of my concern. Right,
that's a little weird, because then the Infinity War is coming up so soon after that. It's 2018. It's only a couple years. And it's the Infinity War, so it's Thanos. So how are they gonna...
It could be a thing where they're like they finally see Thanos and all his big bad business, and they're like, okay, we got to set aside our differences for this kind of thing.
And then at that point, to me, that would be really disappointing, because then it would feel rushed. Like I wanted Captain America, the next Captain America, to be the start of the Civil War, and then for there to be an Avengers movie after that.
Yeah.
Actually called the Civil War. And I think that was the original plan, and then they changed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you a little bit on that. I'm a little like, I would like to see a full Civil War, but I think at this point
it's
we're
just
gonna get one
like
movie, which is fine.
I guess their cinematic universe and what they're trying to do is very new. So there's a lot of different things that they may not know exactly how to approach. Like putting the Infinity War as the third Avengers, it seems like a classic like trilogy thing to do. It's like they're still in this like trilogy mindset that so many like book adaptations and like other movies have like sought after kind of thing, even though like Marvel has 101 like crazy awesome storylines and stuff that they could make into an Avengers movie, or it's just its own thing kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But maybe they're still looking for that condensing and just the typical like movie structure and all that, you know?
Yeah.
It's like they're just kind of in a new weird like unexplored territory for films, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Like where they're eventually going to be heading.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was just gonna say that I think I agree with Eric a lot on the on his first impressions, and I also agree with you that I actually okay. So I will say I did like the humor. I liked Ultron being okay. Here's the thing. I really like Joss Whedon. So when I saw that Ultron was making jokes and was like sarcastic, kind of like Tony Stark would be, which I mean, I guess you could make the argument that's why, and that makes sense to me. I think that's not that like too far of a leap.
It makes makes sense to the comics.
Yeah, and I mean that makes sense. Like that Ultron kind of takes after Tony Stark, and then there's that whole scene where he says you're a lot like Iron Man, you're a lot like Tony Stark, and Ultron freaks out.
Yeah,
that kind of supports that theory a little bit. But anyway, I liked the fact that Ultron was funny and sarcastic.
He was personable. He wasn't just like another like take over the world.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't the greatest bad guy, but he was sarcastic.
He had a good.
That was good.
He had an interesting personality.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of times though that every character would be like that. And although I understand like a lot of people that they have that problem with his writing, with Whedon's writing, that everyone
has to be the Joker.
Right, everyone has to be the Joker.
Everyone's a Han Solo.
Right, yeah, that's kind of what people think his writing is and although I know what they're talking about, I felt like in Firefly especially and in other shows too that he's done, there are characters that are definitely not, that are straight men.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like. Oh yeah, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and I felt like in this movie that was not the case. Like everybody joked, all the time,
and that's a big reason why the humor didn't land for me, because everyone had something to say, and it's distracting because as much as everyone has something funny to say in their individual movies, because yes, Captain America and Thor and everyone else kind of has moments where they get to have a joke, but it feels like it carries more to their character in that universe. When they go into the Avengers, and this has happened in the first one too, it seems like everyone can have a quip or something.
Yeah.
And that's distracting because only Tony has that actual thing
in his own universe, in his own films.
And that's his character. He's this this witty, quippy kind of guy. He always has something to say. He's a smartass.
Right.
But it's weird to me how in this one Thor almost has this weird swagger to him.
Yeah,
Thor to me makes sense humor-wise to use him for how much like Cap. They both have this fish out of water way of being funny because they are both aliens to this world that they are inhabiting. They have a different way of doing it because Thor is more like mythic, like has a very mythical and Shakespearean way of life, and then Cap is just Boy Scout from the 40s look on things, so very innocent.
Yeah.
But them saying anything trying to be witty just comes off as trying to just up the humor content. And when it comes to Ultron, it makes sense because it's and this is where kind of my problem with Ultron as a villain is he is funny. He has a really neat personality, but they don't delve much into him as a menace. A lot of the movie. You know, basically his
aside
story
from
is
his
that
visual appearance, because just like they constantly
do
a lot of stuff to make him just visually seem menacingly, but like through his dialogue and I guess kind of his behavior, there wasn't like too much. But you saw a lot of shots where like when they first find him in the church, there's that like kind of like upper shot of him as he like rises up and is this huge hulking
which
figure.
is a really nice image.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely. And then also of course the scene where he tears through himself to reveal a bigger self of him. Yeah.
I also had a problem with that. I mean, after the movie, me and my girlfriend talked a lot about it. You know, she's not as familiar with the universe, but she's really good at helping me see things I always miss when we watch things. And I felt this, but she pointed it out. How in that scene, as cool as the imagery is, it still didn't. I didn't feel it, and she didn't feel that. We got that sense of scale of that he really changed that much. He still looked the same, just this weird, you know, upper shot, and it's supposed to make him look bigger, but he doesn't really look bigger. It's a menacing shot.
Yeah.
But nothing. Yeah. It's like Dragon Ball Z with Frieza. It's not. Frieza changes not just in size, but he changes in physicality as well. So you get not only a sense of scale, but a sense of difference and menace with each new form.
In
personality and looks.
Right.
Exactly.
That's true.
And I didn't get that from Ultron. You
and
know,
at the end of the day, that like bigger form was just Plan B. You know.
Yeah, and it's weird.
Vision was his thing.
Right. Yeah. Like it's weird because I feel like that's an example, like him becoming, suddenly I'm bigger and badder, is kind of a just one of those kind of moments in the movie where I'm like, why did that need to happen? And I can think of a lot of moments in this movie where I'm like, I don't understand what that did for the movie. Like I'm sitting over here going, okay, he's not scarier and he's just physically bigger and that's it. Like, why did that scene need to be made?
I think one thing it did, like him just getting bigger in that instance, is like throughout the movie you see him like constantly upgrading and bringing on these themes of quote unquote evolution.
Right. Yeah.
I guess that was just kind of important to like keep it as his character kind of thing.
And I get that.
Yeah.
I guess it's just there, like Eric said, there's no change. Like he's literally just bigger.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm just like, I don't really understand why you need. I don't know. And that scene also happens in another one of those moments where she's in the cell, where I have absolutely no idea why. I'm like, wait, why are you kidnapped? Wait, why are you in here for 5 minutes? Okay, now you're done? Oh, the storyline's over. We're on to the next thing.
That is a part of the problem I find with. I mean, I think we're still waiting to talk about the actual problems with whatever we have with Marvel movies or the blockbuster movies. But there's a lot of moments where they just, like you were saying, they put it in there because they need that moment, but they don't. You don't feel anything because they don't earn the moment.
Right.
You know, they don't earn him changing into the big menacing thing. They don't earn, you know, he keeps talking about throughout the movie about how, you know, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and he shows that he's changing and he's becoming bigger. He shows that he talks about how he's going to use vision for this and that. He says he's going to threaten to kill that one scientist's whole lab to get what he wants. He says all these things. He doesn't do anything, and it's a problem. I mean, this is something everyone agrees with. All Marvel villain in the cinematic universe, they talk a lot of talk. They don't do anything with it. They just say. I mean, and once again, this is another thing I'm pulling from like many opinions I read that I agree with. I tend to agree with. I haven't finished the Daredevil series on Netflix yet, but I feel the William Fisk Kingpin character so far actually has more menace because he's actually doing stuff. You know, he's actually hurting people and following through with his threats to some extent.
Oh yeah.
And he's, you know, I mean, the only, like, every character seems to have that one moment where they give you the sense that, yeah, they're gonna really hurt someone. Like Ronan the Ronan the Accuser and Guardians.
Right.
I loved the movie, but he still doesn't have menace because he just has one moment where you see at the beginning in his first introduction, him smashing a guy's head in.
Ronan was probably the worst Marvel bad guy to date, just because I feel like straight from the get-go, you see Ronan, but a second later you see Thanos, and then all of a sudden nobody cares about Ronan.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's another. You know,
he was a very staple bad guy. He didn't really have much of a personality at all. And
yeah, not until the end. Like when he had that moment where he kind of stops when he's looking at Peter dancing, you kind of see something else about him. And then you don't see anything else besides him just saying this and that and bashing one guy's head in. One guy.
Yeah.
And I think and you know, he says kill them all at the prison, but you don't see it or like really get a sense that he did it.
Right.
You know, he could have said that and they're like, yeah, we did it. You don't know. Not like I need to see a bunch of bodies at the prison or anything. I don't know. I just feel like he didn't do much.
I agree with you that in Marvel movies in general are kind of like that. I feel like a villain that is done kind of well, but at this point has been done to death, is Loki.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the issue with Marvel villains, is that Loki is good and he does do stuff. And he is very evil, and he does have interesting schemes and everything, right? But then he's in like 4 movies, and by the end of it, you're kind of like, okay, all right, can we move on? Like, we need someone new, please. And then every villain they bring in after that is kind of like Ultron. He's kind of like, he doesn't seem like a threat.
Yeah, it's irritating.
Yeah, and so I have a tendency to agree with you on that one. I feel like Marvel villains are hit and miss at best.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that really liked the Thor movies, and I don't see it. And my main problems with it are the 2 villains. I'm not.
I see. I had a gripe about that, about the Iron Man movies. I didn't really like any of the villains in those.
I feel like the first one is my favorite. The first Iron Man may be my favorite Marvel movie, actually.
Okay.
But it's not really because of the villain.
Yeah, it was just freaking Robert Downey Jr.
Well, actually, and the villain is really good.
Just getting to know Iron Man, I think is really cool.
Yeah, is why.
That's what sells it the best, yeah.
Yeah.
You get a single character story, and what helps, I mean, a lot of people agree that Iron Man is, you know, probably one of the better Marvel cinematic movies because of the fact that it's built to be its own single story to set up more Iron Man movies, and they put that thing at the end credits because they were thinking Avengers if it's, you know, popular enough, because they were also doing Thor and others, and it works so well because of that. Yeah, that's all I can say about that. And
then I just wanted to mention really quickly, kind of before we move on from strictly Avengers 2, the thing that, and it really shouldn't bother me this much, but the more and more I've been thinking about, the more it bothers me, is the romantic subplot in Avengers 2.
Oh, yeah.
Really feels really hardcore shoved in there for no reason. Very forced. And it also feels like, and we're going to get into this later with the whole safe thing, but it feels like somebody at some point said, you know what? Black Widow hasn't fallen in love with anyone yet. Let's make that happen.
Yeah.
And then they picked someone that and made a reason for it to happen, which was a thing we have never seen before, which is Black Widow seemingly calming the Hulk down because she's a woman and she can. Women are the only people that can calm men down when they're angry. You guys, that's how that works.
Yeah.
And then they fall in love because somebody needs to fall in love.
This is like the one thing that, like, even with a lot of my friends who like are just completely content with just the like action and humor and stuff. Even they have had a problem with that part, like getting Hulk and Black Widow together.
And I feel like it really neuters both characters, because Hulk is supposed to be like vulnerable. He's supposed to be like, I'm still killing people, it's terrible. And then Black Widow is also supposed to be kind of vulnerable, and they're supposed to be like coming together at that moment, but it just doesn't work. Because it happens in one movie, and it happens in 5-minute scene, not even 5-minute scenes, like 4 times over the course of a 2-hour movie. And I'm like, that is not enough, you guys. I don't know who these people are, really.
To me, one of the suckiest parts about it, like this whole like overshadowing, well, this whole relationship thing overshadowed the fact that we got to see an intense like backstory, like flashback with Black Widow, which finally added a little bit of depth.
Right, and the only reason she did that was because she's in love with the Hulk.
Yeah.
That's the only reason you know that piece of information.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
Yeah. Anyway,
what were you going to say, Eric?
No, I was, I kind of forgot. It definitely does feel forced in there. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say that it would have felt like it worked better if they had some sort of, they built up to it, like like it had hints to it in the last Avengers movie.
Right.
That, she could do that. I mean, it does come out of absolutely nowhere. They can set it up all they want at the beginning, but nothing. Once again, it comes down to earning the moment, and I feel like it just doesn't. I mean, I also have my own stupid fan, like nerd boy annoyance with it, because
that's not like canon.
Bruce Banner doesn't fall in love with Natasha. He falls in love with what's her name? Not Jane Foster. That's Thor's. But the other Betty Ross. That's Bruce Banner's. So it's Bruce Banner's love interest. So it's weird to me to see. I mean, in the end, it's an adaptation, so I don't mind weird changes like that. But at the same time, it feels like they should, earn it.
But the problem was there was like no hinting towards it, even in the cinematic universe in previous movies.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, there's definitely elements of like, you see her bond with Hawkeye because they already know each other very well in the first Avengers, and that's great. And I'm thinking the whole time, like, they'll probably get together. And like, it would be better if they were just friends and this didn't need to become a thing, but it probably will. And then it didn't. And I was like, oh, okay, we're doing good. Yeah. And then apparently in Captain America 2, right? Like they didn't actually shove that in. Instead, it was just like, no, we're really good friends. We love each other, but we're gonna be here for support and everything. And that was great, and I really liked that. And then this one is just randomly like, hey, you're gonna fall in love with him because he doesn't know how to control himself, and we need some sexual tension. I don't know.
No, what did you guys think?
Yeah.
What did you guys think about Hawkeye having a secret family?
I liked it. I haven't read the current Hawkeye, like kind of the day in the life of Hawkeye sort of comic book series by Matt Fraction, but from what I've heard, it kind of feels similar to that, where he's this super badass archer who infiltrates all these secret organizations and beats up all these supervillains. But when the day is over, he goes home to his family in a relaxed environment and does the normal husband-dad stuff. Yeah. And I like that aspect, especially since nothing about his character in the first movie seemed like he was really interested in Natasha, because they just seemed like friends, nothing more. And because he almost like he had his own life besides her. And that's why it many things like this just makes it more satisfying that they're just friends, because not everyone, and every male-female relationship is romantic. And that's what I also liked about how her relationship with Cap in Captain America 2. There's some flirting, but ultimately it comes down to they relate to each other and they are friends, and that's all they are going to be, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I like that too. But then this happens, and it really, I want to know why. And maybe they'll fix it in the next one where they can explain it more or something. I don't know, but I feel like if they don't tell the story more so in the next one to kind of explain it, it's just going to feel forced from now on. And it's just, I also didn't feel like they had the best chemistry in that.
No, I totally.
They had fine chemistry in the last one.
I talked to Andrew about this a little, but the only like possible thing I could think of is like Black Widow recruited the Hulk originally, and very early on, I think it showed that the Hulk was the only one that Black Widow really feared, and maybe that fear developed into respect and something more and more. But that's such a long shot kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a theory I've seen bounced around a little bit, because it is mentioned in the movie how, you know, oh, you sent me to recruit him, so why is that? And, you know, I feel like that was something to kind of, if you see, we knew all along we were going to do this, but I still don't believe they really thought that. It's a toss-up. It really is a toss-up with that story. There are plenty of people on the internet arguing for its merits and giving deep backstory into it, which, you know, they made up out of their own ass. But
it's true.
It's so true. I've seen so much of that too.
You know.
Yeah. But I did want to say.
Oh yeah, my opinions changed so much.
What?
Sorry. No, I was saying my opinions changed so much because I read the discussions online where I'm like, well, maybe. Oh wait, no, they're just making that up.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I go back and forth a lot, and that's what.
I just wanted to say something about the Hawkeye thing. Was like I also enjoyed it. I thought it was just kind of refreshing, because like every other like superhero around is like totally tormented by something or other and just doesn't have any of the stuff together. And here comes like the most like quote unquote throwaway one that they joke around with and stuff, and it turns out he's like the happiest out of all.
That's what I liked, is the fact that
he's the most put together.
Yeah, he's kind of the throwaway character, and he ends up being the most like put together. Stable. He has a family and stable. I did think it came out of complete nowhere, but that was obviously part of it, that it was supposed to be unexpected. But it is another moment where I was
supposed to expect it.
Right, yeah.
That's a surprise I can enjoy and kind of get behind too, because it's like you're in like a super dangerous top secret organization. Of course, your family's going to be like hush hush kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, it definitely makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, that did remind me. One more thing I wanted to talk about with this movie was the twins.
Oh, right. Yeah, we have not even mentioned.
Yeah, which is like a big part. I mean, I really enjoyed them, honestly.
Okay.
They both did. I thought both of them did really good performances. I am a little annoyed more with the internet community with how they reacted to Quicksilver's performance, because it's not like the same snarky version that was in X-Men, which is ridiculous, because the one in the Avengers is closer to the whiny show off that Pietro is in the comic books, as opposed to the one that he is in the in X-Men. In X-Men, he's just basically a Wally West Flash ripoff. He's a Flash ripoff in X-Men.
He had a fair amount of
original because he's funny.
Right.
Yeah, which is you know, we'll go back. I'll go back into this concept when we go talk about the blockbusters later. But I liked both Quicksilvers, but I thought what they did with both Quicksilver and Wanda pretty well done. You know, it didn't get a lot of as much as I would flesh them out. I thought a lot of the effects for their powers, Wanda had a really good character arc, I think, that, you know, could have garnered more screen time to really flesh it up. But what they gave us, I felt was really cool. Her powers were portrayed really well, and Elizabeth Olsen did a great job as Wanda.
Yeah.
As did I can't remember his name, but Kick-Ass played.
Yeah.
Playing Quicksilver.
Yeah, I really liked the two of them too, but I felt like they really needed more screen time. Spoilers, but this whole thing is spoilers. But spoilers. When he dies, kind of at the end there, I was kind of like, okay. Well, we got no time with that, and I would have liked more time because they were interesting characters, and like
but someone had to die.
But someone had to die, and it had to be him. And that makes sense for her character, too, at the same time, because he's definitely the protector of her, and now she's left alone.
The whole Marvel universe, Scarlet Witch is a much more important character. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where they take Scarlet Witch, because she's, at least in the Marvel comic universe, she's hands down one of the most powerful Avengers ever, and has had tons of remarkable arcs and involvement and stuff. One namely being the House of M. I just went through that today, and it was pretty nuts, but it was cool.
Yeah, I've been meaning to read that one. I've only skimmed it, and I really want to read it. But yeah, it does. The death scene does go well with her character, because both of them are very tortured souls, and it gives her more of that push, because that push to maybe where her unstable mind comes from, because that's her character. She's this person with this incredible mind power.
Right.
Yet she can't even really control her own feelings and thoughts on things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I always found interesting.
That little quip about them being trapped under the rubble with that missile or whatever, it was a nice touch, but it was there and it was gone.
I wanted more time before Quicksilver died, and it was supposed to be this big moment. It was another, you're talking, Eric, I felt like they didn't earn that moment with him dying. It wasn't as impactful as I wanted it to be. Because it would have been great if we knew them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we knew what we were kind of getting into.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's just okay, well, we're moving on now.
Yeah.
Now we still have to stop Ultron, guys. Don't forget about that, But
yeah, that's kind of the side effect of these kind of movies. And it's a tough balancing act. I understand. It's just
They just got so much they have to cover.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So I think that kind of. Well, actually, all right. One more thing, and I'm just going to mention it.
Okay.
The whole pool of light that Thor sits in and somehow gets a vision and then leaves and goes and makes the vision.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was really funny to me, because
I was follow the comics, you're like, what is this?
No, and that's the thing, is I had to look it up later, because I was like, wait, is this actually from the comics? And it is, sort of. But at the same time, it's just all right, cool, I'm going to go find the doctor. Okay, I'm in normal clothes now. All right, now I'm in a pool. All right, I have a vision. Let's go back and save the world.
It's very poorly edited.
It's awful. It's so awful. And that's one of the things.
It comes out of nowhere. It just...
Yeah, it's I don't understand where that came from. I don't understand why he knows about it. Why does the doctor know about it? What does he even need the doctor for? Just for them to have a cameo? Why is it edited this haphazardly? They're getting in the car. Now they're here. Now they're there. Now Thor's in, like I said, now Thor's in normal clothes. Now it's all right, they wanted that scene to last 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they wanted in between scenes to be 20 minutes. But instead, it's nope, it's got to be 30 seconds long, because they just ran out of time. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And I just had to go with it.
There's supposed to be some deleted scenes for that.
Yeah, supposedly there are. And I saw an interview with Joss Whedon where he was talking about that. He wanted that to be longer, supposedly. And I get it. I get it. Because after seeing it, I'm like, yeah, it should have been. It really should have been.
Yeah.
Again, we go back to the risks of taking on such a heavy and complex universe in the world of film.
Yeah, you have to make cuts, and I think they have too many characters. They had to make these weird cuts.
It's brave, but it's tough to do too.
Yeah. All right. So with that said, maybe we'll move on a little bit more about if Marvel movies are too safe.